Hindi nyo naman kailangan basahin talaga. Okay lang yan, dyan lang yan. Ang tandaan nyo lang yung Vinta. But again, I'd like to congratulate the organizers. Of course, the ARFM and the Bangsamoro Youth Affairs, as well as Gawad Kalinga and Anak Mindanao, and to all the young leaders who are here today. Asan na yung mga young leaders natin? Pwede itaas ang kamay? Yan. Palapakan nyo naman yung sarili kasi nung nag-introduce dito bulaga ka po sa mga leader pala kayo ng inyong mga komunidad. At nalaman ko rin na you represent a lot of tribes. Halos lahat ng 13 ethnic linguistic tribes ng Bangsamoro are here together with our Gawad Kalinga partners. So, it is overwhelming and inspiring to be speaking in front of you. So, what you're looking at is a Vinta, which is a representation of something. Bulalin mo na. The basic question in the current peace process, or even in Moro or non-Moro minds, is bakit ba may gera? Bakit ba may peace process? Kung may army, bakit pa kailangan pa ng Bangsamoro? Ano ba itong, narinig nyo ba yung kwento na, ano ba itong mga Muslim? Gusto na gera, ayaw mo kontento, bigyan mo na ganito, hingi pa ng hingi. Can you answer that question? Until and unless you can answer that question, then you have not yet understood your history, nor do you understand where you came from, and therefore you will not know where you will be going. But what is clear is that you know where you are. So essentially, when you look at this Vinta, I'd like you to look at three dimensions that I'm supposed to be talking. The first is the past, and second is the present, where we are, and the future, where we are going. And that's where the role of the Bangsamoro youth will be discussed. Now, knowing that, there are three essential elements, actually, that we must distinguish on why there's conflict, why there's a peace process, and why there is discontentment. And it's these three things, which can be represented by, kung may Vinta, may tubig o dagat sa baba. That's part 1. Kung may Vinta, may boat, and that's part 2. And number 3, kung may Vinta, may sail, the source of energy. Ang tatlong representations na yan, you could think of it as yung sa baba, yung tubig, is the meaningful autonomy. We can call it sovereignty before, but since we're now within the Philippine government, let's talk about autonomy, meaningful autonomy. Yung tubig. Yung pangalawa is about identity. Who we are. Are we any different? And pangatlo is integral development. These three dimensions was popularized by Cardinal Quevedo, and he was still a bishop. And he said, you know, one of the root causes of the conflict in Mindanao is the injustices. These three clear and distinct injustices, which must be addressed in order for there to be peace. And why do we have to take it from Cardinal Quevedo? It is because minsan kasi as Moro, as a minority, you cannot be understood, or nor will they believe you. Kasi sabi niya, ganyan talaga, reklamador. But if somebody of high position and respect, and somebody who had known Mindanao all his life would say that, then, you know, there must be a pinch of truth to that. So in my entire presentation, I will just be delving into those three. Number 1, the meaningful autonomy that we're looking at. Number 2, the identity. And number 3, the integral development. If there's anything that I'd like you to remember in my speech, it is these three. So could you repeat it again, please? Number 1, meaningful autonomy. Wala akong kikinig eh. Hindi na. Please, meaningful autonomy. Pangalawa is identity. And 3 is integral development. With just that 3, you can answer any question as regards the present and the past and the future where we are going. So just remember those 3. Where do we want to begin? Let us begin in the present. In the present case, the Bangsamoro, Moro youth, young Moros, named Abdul, would rather be called Robert. Because in our present society, nakakahiya pag sinabing Abdul, natatakot na agad sila. Pag mag-apply ka, yung pangalan mo, Abul, karamihan minsan hindi tinatanggap. Pag nasa mall ka, nakabelo, pag nag-apply ka ng trabaho rin, pag pumasok ka sa eskwela, minsan pinapatanggal. Have you ever experienced those kinds of prejudices? When I was a freshman student in the University of the Philippines, Diliman, doon sa mga tabloids, ang unang nakita ko was Muslim bombs LRT. Napahiyak ako. What I did was to write the editor. Di ba ako naman sa ko? And then when I went to school in my Comm 1 class, ang unang sabi ng teacher, Muslim ka pala, Mustafa. Kala mo yung Abu Sayyaf? Google ng Abu Sayyaf na yun. And then a few months ago, a very close brother of mine who understands most of my writings about history and my ideas, suddenly went to me, sabi niya, Tom! Ano naman pinagkagawa ng mga moral dyan sa Mindanao? Ba't ganun? Galit na galit kami sa inyo. Bakit ganyan? Nasasagot ba natin ito? We could not understand this. Sabi niya, sagutin mo nga doon yung mga tanong ko. Sa Facebook, message lang. Hanggang ngayon, hindi pa nasasagot. Because you could not answer a simple question by just talking about the present. You have to go back to the past. And at the same time, you, young Moros, you have to look back to the past. Number one, to know why you should strive. To know where you want to go. And to realize the responsibility that you carry on your shoulders. So, okay, simulan na natin ito para mabilis. 5 minutes. How do we talk about history? Medyo masalimuot, lalo na katulad natin na hindi naman historian. Kasi, I'm sure kahit anong date yung sasabihin ko dyan, hindi nyo naman ma-memorize. So, let's just talk about the main, some of the main figures in history. Nung nagsimula yung Muslims in the Philippines, yung Moros. Let's start with a person named Karimul Maktoum in 1380. Sino rito yung nakapunta na ng Tawi-Tawi? Yan, may iba. Sino na nakapunta na si Munul? Yon, dun sa oldest mosque. There's an old mosque there, built by Karimul Maktoum. And he preached Islam. And later on, he went to Buansa, Sulu, and preached Islam as well. And 10 years after, Raja Baginda from Sumatra arrived. And he stayed also in Buansa. Tapos nagkaanak siya. Yung anak niya, si Sultan Hashim Abu Bakar. Si Sultan Hashim Abu Bakar na may lineage from the Nabi arrived in Buansa and was able to marry the daughter of Raja Baginda and therefore established the first sultanate sa Sulu. That's 1380. Mga ilang taon na ba yun? Sino magaling sa math dito? Around 600 years ago. So that started the Sulu Sultanate from 14 that started the Sulu Sultanate na nag-persist up to ngayon. 600 years. Although of course yung powers nag-iba na. Sino mga galing Sulu dito? Pwede makita sa kamay. Yan. Minsan kahit mga taga-Sulu hindi rin nila memorize yan. Medyo masalimuot kasi. Ang problema kasi sa history natin, hindi naman tinuturo ito sa eskwelahan. And that is one factor which causes great prejudice and injustice sa atin. Kasi kaya ang tingin sa atin, mga komentado, mga warframe, because they don't know our history. So, meron lang yung tanda niya sa Sulu. From Karimul Maktoum, Raja Baginda, and Sultan Hashim Abu Bakar. Karimul Maktoum established kasi the principality. Dumami na yung mga Muslim. Pagdating ni Raja Baginda, Yung anak na napakasalan ni Sultan Hashim Abu Bakar. So, na-organize niya ito and then became the first sultanate. Dito naman sa Maguindanao area, in 1515, so tingnan mo yung timeline, 1390, in 1515, roughly mga more than 100 years, dumating naman si Sharif Kabungsuan. Etong complex na ito, tawag yata, correct me if I'm wrong, Sharif Kabungsuan complex ba ito? O, ibig sabihin talagang importante si Sharif Kabungsuan. Yung Sharif. So, sino ba si Sharif Kabungsuan? Again, yung history nito is may lineage din siya from the Nabi. From Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For those who understand, it's again our Prophet Muhammad, his lineage included Sharif Kabungsuan, who arrived here. And si Sharif Kabungsuan, when he went to Maguindanao, actually dumaan ng Tawi-Tawi. May mga sama pa raw na naisama. So, tapos pumunta dito sa Malabang. And then, it started the powerful Sultanate of Maguindanao. Ito si Sharif Kabungsuan, yung kanyang napangasawa is anak ng Sultan of Sulu. So, kita mo yun, pagkamag-anak din pala, may intermarriage between Sulu Sultanate and Maguindanao Sultanate. So pag gano'n, ibig sabihin, yung anak nila, may descendants din ng Sulu Sultanate. Hanggang nanganak at nagkaroon na ng Sultan Kudarat. Ayan, may probinsya ng Sultan Kudarat, may munisipyo ng Sultan Kudarat. Bakit? And Sultan Kudarat is also a national hero because he was one of the strongest, most powerful sultans in Mindanao, whose empire reached from Pagadian to Jensan to halos Davao, before Davao. It was that big, yung Sultanate of Maguindanao. While the Sultanate of Sulu comprised from Sulu to Sabah, umaabot ang Palawan. Imagine. Could you imagine how big it is? Correction pala doon. Si Sultan Kudarat ang nagpakasal sa anak ng Sultan ng Sulu. Ayan, so the national hero. Si Mawalil, anak ng daughter ng Sultan ng Sulu, called Mawalil Wasi. Ayan, kung sino yung nakakabasa. So, of course, meron ding Sultanate sa Lanao. Pero kasi short tayo sa oras, kaka 11 minutes na. Yun lang yung tandaan niyo, yung parang empire ng Bangsamoro that time was from somewhere in Palawan to the Sulusis to mainland Mindanao. And there were treaties. There were treaties of the Sultan of Sulu with US, France, British, and Spain. And there was treaties between Sultanate of Maguindanao with Spain and Britain. What's the importance of mentioning that? The importance of mentioning that is that during those times, we had, in a sense, sovereignty, which is the justification for us to claim meaningful autonomy. It is a justification to us having a clear identity, because when you do treaties with sovereign nations, you have a distinct identity. And as regards integral development, when we talk of the past, imagine your land area comprises roughly 3/4 of Mindanao to include Sabah and to as far as Palawan. But I'm not mentioning this to heighten again the politicians from those areas. Baka naka-record, baka lumabas sa YouTube. But the point is, there is a historical context to the claim. And the truth is, we may never be able to reclaim those. But what is important is that these young Moros, are descendants of a people who once owned, had sovereignty, and had development of a land so big as that. And now we're into minor, isolated areas of Mindanao. And we were not actually just in Mindanao. Alam niyo kung kasagsagan na ibagsak yung pork barrel, pumunta akong Luneta, daming kasing tao, when the uprising of young people. And dun sa Luneta, I discovered something. For the first time, after being in Manila for so long. Sino nakapunta ng Luneta? Balita sa kamay? Dami! Eto, napansin niyo ba ito? Sino yung nakatayo dun na napakalaking statwa sa Rizal Park? See? Oh, may mas malaki pang statwa doon. Sino? Lapu-Lapu. Nabasa niyo ba yung inscription doon? Hindi. Alam niyo yung nakalagay doon? Nasa slides natin eh. Hindi ko alam kung pwede pa lang. Sabi niya, he is Lapu-Lapu. He is the sentinel of freedom. He was the Muslim chieftain who dealt justly with his people. He was the defender of Islam who was not willing to bow down to foreign powers. And it is because of that, his statue is 10 times bigger than Jose Rizal, the hero of the Philippines in modern times. But the implication of that, it was during the time of boredom that statue was placed. I hope you realize that young Moros like you, some of you might be ashamed to be called Moro. You'd rather be called Michael rather than Abdul. Realize this, that even in Rizal Park, the land of heroes, there stands a Moro, a Muslim. Alam niyo, nung pumunta ako ron, may pamilya, may bata, sabi niya, they were reading the scripture. And it says, a Muslim. Sabi ng tatay, sabi ng anak, tay, Muslim pala yan. Sabi ng tatay, oo. And I was just behind them. And it is amazing. Because if our fellow Filipinos from Visayas and Luzon, and even other parts of Mindanao, would just realize this, that they will have improved respect to us. And then perhaps they'd be more just. They would not succumb to the brainwashing that historians had did since the time of Pigafetta in 1500s up to today, where they call Moros, Moro-Moro, wild, barbaric, pirates. Because by doing that, by brainwashing young kids to look at Moros as warriors, good-for-nothing pirates, when they become national leaders, when they become people of power, they will have the same mindset. And no matter what kind of advocacy, peace advocacy, tell them, they'll say, hindi mapagkakatiwalaan ang mga Moro. Meron ba kayong narinig na national leaders na nagsasalita ng ganun? Meron? And it may not be their fault, hindi nila kasalanan yun. It is because of our educational system who intentionally remove the history of the Bangsamoro in our history books and replace it with something that is negative. And that is why our advocacy doon sa future. Your role as young Moros is to become ambassadors by your acts, by your dressing, by your statements, by standing ground amidst prejudices. Sabihin mo, Moro ako, hindi naman kami ganyan. And you explain. Do not depend on leaders because you yourself have the power. And imagine 300 young leaders who could influence 100 other youth. That's 30,000. Who could influence their community by 100-fold. You could influence 3 million. And 3 million can influence the rest of the country. The key here is to understand where we came from and the context. And that's why I'm going through with this. Even Raja Sulaiman versus Legazpi in 1571, kung nagsimula yun sabi niya, uy, Muslim pa rin. Because during the time, Spain hired the Portuguese, Magellan, to come here to the Philippines. Nung nakita nila, ay, mga Muslim pa rin ito, just like the Moors of Moro, who conquered Spain for 777 years. And they didn't just conquer it actually. They held Spain because during that time, the governance in Spain was not that good. Even Christians were persecuted. Even Jews were persecuted. The Moroccans went into hell. And for 777 years, contrary to historical accounts that would say, it was bad for Spain, so many historians would say that that was a jewel in the history of Spain and Europe, where culture, science, and development and technology flourished. So be proud of your history to even be called Moro, from Moroccan, because they introduced a lot of development. Essentially, just to break down the history, natandaan nyo lang from 1521, well, from 1200, that was the start of the Philippines. And from 1521 to 1898, 300 years of Moro wars. Yung mga ninuno nyo, yung mga apo nyo, who fought. And 1898 to 1946, American regime. And 1946, the Philippine independence. But what else? What else can we be proud of? What evidence? Alam mo, mahirap mag-kumbinsi sa mga tao ayaw maniwala. When I was Sulu provincial administrator, we had a visitor from China. Thin, small, white Chinese. And they said, we come here to Sulu because we are the descendants of the Sultanate of Sulu. And true enough, there was a Sultan, Sultan Paduka Batara, who died in China. They were friends with the emperor. And on his way back, he died. And how high did the Chinese emperor look at him? He looked at him as a head of state and gave him an imperial wedding. To be given an imperial wedding in the 15th century is indeed a huge honor. And therefore, there's one city in China that is full of the descendants of Sultanate of Sulu, descendants of Moros like us. But then we'd say, but what evidence can we talk about? Just last year, around the 50 cultural performers from Sulu Tawi-Tawi went there in Shandong and visited the city. And they had a program like this. And in that program, it states 600 years of continuing friendship between the people of Sulu and China. And that was in front of the Philippine ambassador. In the same instance, the Philippines celebrated the 40th year of Philippine-China diplomatic relations. Is there something wrong here? Or is there something that we could realize here? The Moro relations with China is 600 years old. The Philippine relations with China is 40 years old. Does our friends who look at Moros as Orientales know that simple fact? That long before the Philippines existed, there were the Moros, the Muslims in these islands, who had trade relations with China, UK, France, who had lived progressive lives. And it's important for you to remember that, because that's the only way that you can change their mindset. So, what happened? One issue, one issue that is affecting us right now is the case of the Sabah. Sabah was donated to the Sultanate of Sulu in 1658. and least before around 1878. And yan na rin yung nagbigay ng napakaraming problema sa atin because, there's a tug of war. But we don't need to talk about that. Ang pag-usapan lang natin, ganun na tayo na-develop as a people to be given huge tracts of land as big as Mindanao. So, our history is very colorful. But what happened? Ano yung nangyari? Nagsimula ito noong ang daming dates dyan, pero ito lang yung tandaan nyo. During those times where we were great, we had huge lands, isa lang yung napaka-importante na nag-deprive sa atin ng lupa. Batas. Batas. Law was the key to the injustice, to the morals, integral development, kasi mga lupa yun, and meaningful autonomy. In what sense? Kasi kung panahon na yun, imagine, nakipag-gera ka for 300 years against the Spaniards. And suddenly, pagdating ng 1898, noong June, nag-independence si Aguinaldo. Noong December, naibenta yung Las Islas Filipinas sa US for 20 million Mexican dollars. Actually, hindi kasama yung Muslim areas ng Mindanao at Sunod, in-annex lang. Pero there was one law that I'd like you to remember, and you can explain to your colleagues. And this is the Regalian Doctrine. The Regalian Doctrine simply means that everything is owned by the state. Everything from the land to the waters, everything. So imagine, for 300 years we have been fighting with the Spaniards. And then, of course, may mga Filipinos din nakasama doon. And then, in that 1903, biglang diniklara na lahat ng lupa na walang torrents, Spanish titles becomes public land. Imagine, kung 300 kayo, you have this hall. You're occupying it. But then suddenly somebody comes here and said, if you do not have titles to the places that you're occupying, it becomes government title. And therefore, sino tagalala na dito? Pagkitaas ang kamay. Alam niyo ba na yung buong Danau del Sur, that's a military reservation, walang mga titulo. Dati yan, ewan ko na lang ngayon, meron na. Pero nasa DPWH ako, ang problema namin yung land titles. Ganun din sa maraming areas na Maguindanao. And then, they had this policy na pag Muslim ka, pag Moro ka, hindi ka pwedeng mabigyan ng lupa. Pero pag galing ka sa ibang lugar, Luzon, Visayas, meron kang 12 hectares, 24 hectares. Kung corporation ka, meron kang 1,000 hectares. Kaya magulat kayo, sino tagapasinan dito? May mga napakalaking lupa doon na hindi naman nakapunta pa doon. Dito nga, sa Malabang din, marami. But then, I'm not saying this to inculcate anger, hatred, or divisiveness. I am just saying this to state facts of injustices that were made just by a simple law, a principle that states lahat ng mga hindi nakapag-register, hindi nakasama, nag-aaway nga. Because Spanish tourist titles were being registered during the Spanish time and after that. So therefore, all the Moros were deprived of their land. And it's as simple as that. In 1918, Moros were 50% of Mindanao. And Christians were 20%. In 1980, reverse na yun. 20% yung Moros, 75% yung Christians. But then again, I'm not doing this to sow divisiveness. I'm just stating facts of history that justify an affirmative action from the majority to the minority. I was in Seattle, USA, a few years back. And kilala ba si Chief Seattle? He's an Indian chief who led, because it was their territory, as Seattle. Sino nakakakilala kay Chief Seattle? Wala. Basta siya yung head doon. But the affirmative action that they did in Seattle, Washington State, they had affirmative action. May special privilege sila in using their resources. Minsan may mga area sila lang yung pwede mangisda. May mga area na may mga tax holidays sila. And their culture is respected. In the Philippines, do you have that recognition of these past injustices? May tinatawag na IPRA law, which is actually addressing the indigenous people's right to ancestral land. I know this might sound complicated, but karamihan ng Moro hindi kasama doon. Those who fought for more than 300 years, up to 400 years. Alam niyo nga, ang sabi nga nila dito, the Moros have the longest running conflict in the world. Yung Iraq, bago lang yan. Yung Palestinian war, bago lang yan. But it is your ancestors who have been fighting for the past 400 years. And what would you expect? That we would immediately be the same? And that there will immediately be equal justice? An example of this is imagine may mga bola kayo dyan. Yung sa pinakalikod, yung bangsa Moro, pwedeng pakitaas yung sa pinakalikod. Yan. Imagine may bola kayo at may ring dito. Yung dito sa harap, yung mga taga Luzon, yung nasa gitna, yung Visayas. Kung may basketball ring ako dito, sino yung mas may malaking chance na makakashoot ng basketball? Yung dito sa harap, taga Luzon, Visayas, o Mindanao. Eh yung taga Metro Manila, dito pa sa harap yan. That is the situation where we are in. The Bangsamoro are the same. We're in the same room, but we are just less privileged because of historical injustices. Nasa loob tayo sa likod, and yet the majority would declare, ay, dapat pare-pareho lang. Dapat ang pan, kung makashoot ka ng bola 1 point lang yun. Eh kung makashoot lang doon na 1 point pa rin, pareho dito, ay hindi na. Kaya nga sa basketball, may 3 points, may 1 point. But realize as Bangsamoro youth, nandun kayo sa pinakalikod. And again, we go to another second challenge. Your challenge, therefore, is to be better. Be better than those in the Visayas. Be better than those in Luzon. Be better than those in Metro Manila. You know why? Because you need to shoot further. Because you are more disadvantaged, it means that you must develop your character, develop your mind, develop your emotional quotient, develop your adversity quotient to be able to persist, to continue in spite of all of these challenges. It is only in that way that we could move forward to play in their own game. Because the majority would not agree to affirmative action. Therefore, our only solution, non-violent solution, is to be better. And the only way to be better is to start now and volunteer and do activities like what Gawad Kalinga is doing. Because it develops your capacity. It develops your skills. It makes you a better person. And now we're going onto this area. And I'll discuss about Gawad Kalinga and your role a bit later. We'll just discuss a little bit more about where we are before we talk about where we will be going. Alam nyo, swerte pa nga kayo ngayon eh. Because if you look at statistics, out of 100 Moros studying, isa lang yung makakagraduate ng high school na ng college. Imagine that. And so kung kayo ay nasa privilege, for every 300, there are other 30,000 unprivileged kids out there. Who will look after them? Who will help them? Hindi ba may responsibilidad kayo? Kung kayo lang yung graduate ng college 1, natulungan yung 99. Eh sabi niya, tamad naman yan eh. Problema nila, dapat kashoot din sila ng bola. But the truth is, we are gifted with different resources, social capital, na may mga tao talagang katulad nyo na maswerte. Naka-attend na ganitong conference, may oportunidad, may kaibigan, may kilala, may resources. And tama talaga yung sinabi ni Spider-Man, that to whom more is given, more is expected. May argument kasi, yung mga Moro kasi tamad naman yan eh. Oramentado, mas gusto nila panil, yakapin yung panil. But the truth is, there are systems that are in place that is restricting our capacity to progress. And that's where I'm going to explain the relationship between why do you want meaningful autonomy? Because it is related to integral development. And how can that be related? For example, you want integral development, development in terms of roads, development in terms of economic development in your communities. It is dependent on this meaningful autonomy. How can our communities progress when the system itself does not allow us? You know, when we were former barter traders, Mindanao was flourishing. Biglang pinalitan, doon na sa Subic, Clark, ang center ng trading. Kawawa tayo. We are just at the front door of the Yaga. Bakit ba hindi develop dito? Sino yung taga Palawani dito? Palawani, meron ba? Imagine there's a tribe of Palawani. The relationship there, you know, kaya lahat tayo magkakamag-anak, in a sense, interrelated. Because sinusunta rin, pumupunta rin doon sa Palawani. May interrelation. Sa Maguindanao, meron din. Dito sa Lanao tribes, the leaders interacted. You know why the Sultanate and the Maguindanao empires became weak? Dati kasi, pwede tayong mag-interrelate. Yung mga Sultanate na baka pwede pumunta dito sa Maguindanao. But in the 1898, dumating yung steamships. Mabilis na, hindi na kaya ng pahangin-hangin lang. And the port of Zamboanga, doon galing yung mga steamships. So they were able to cut our connectivity. And since wala ng connectivity, isa-isa na tayo kinanker. But the point is, interrelated hanggang Davao, hanggang sa Jensan. Ito nga, yung mga malbog sa tip ng Palawan, napupuntahan yan ng ating mga galing Maguindanao and Sulu. Yung Palawani, of course, yung Badjao, yung Kalagan sa Davao, yung Jamamapon, yung Kalibugan, yung mga Muslim na kababayan natin sa Subanen, yung Sanggil ng Sarangani. May something pa dito, parang may narinig ako kanina. Kalibugan. So, the point is we are all connected. And when there are systems that does not allow us to progress, it means that we need to push this. Kaya pagtanongin kayo, bakit ba may MILF, bakit may MNLF? Ito kasi, sistema, yung batas ng konti, kailangan palitan so that we can really flourish. Kaya dito sa dagat natin nilagay, kasi may tinta ka naman, may sail ka, pero yung dagat na iniikutan mo, napakalaking pan lang. Wala rin. We need a wider space to flourish. Halimbawa, yung Lake Lanao, sino yung taga-Lanao rito? Pwede pakita sa kamay. Oh, wala naman kayo control ng Lanao. Kayo na kayo nagbibigay ng kuryente sa buong Mindanao, pero may kuryente ba kayo? Poros brownout, di ba? Pero sa inyo nagagaling ng tubig. Is there something wrong with that? Kasi yung sa Lake Lanao, iikot pa ng buong Pilipinas, tapos pupunta sa inyo. Sa BPL, tinanggal din nila. Yung Sulusi, alam niyo ba sa Sulusi, nakakuha na sila ng 4 na wells. May nakita silang natural gas, bilyon na natural gas. Eh ngayon, mag-explore na naman yung ExxonMobil. Pero, since doon yun ng konti, hindi na sa loob ng province of Sulu, sabi niya, patak-patak na lang yan. How could it be that our resources in the Sulu Sea, and you're talking of billions of dollars of income, eh hindi naman tayo, because of the tax laws, pag yung opisina sa Makati, doon na pupunta yung tax. Sa atin dito, wala naman. That's why we need to talk about systems. Sa Palawan, yung Palawani, alam mo ba kung bakit yung Palawan nasa Visayas, hindi sa Mindanao? Because our distinguished, respected leaders during that time knew that there was resource in Palawan. There's $5 trillion of natural gas and oil in Palawan. And marami sa mga sinusunod nila doon, kaya minsan kiniklaim na. But because of the structure, etong Palawan sa Visayas, para hindi na talaga makasama yan, the point is, you know, we were sitting on a gold mine. But it doesn't mean that it's yours. Like a lot of our mining, yung mga mina, yung mga authorized na nasa Manila naman. Yung mga plantation, nasa Manila. Why am I saying this? I'm not talking about making you angry. I'm saying this for you to understand and make others understand, to be gentle with us. Because we had a rough history. We have a glorious history. And we're fighting really hard. And for 33 generations, our grandparents have died just for us to be sitting here, standing here, like this. You think if the sultanates of Sulu faltered, surrendered to the Spaniards, that I could still wear these kinds of clothing? You would still have the same dances. You would still have the same culture. And not to mention Islam. Remember, the Sultanate of Sulu and the Sultanate of Maguindanao, they had lineage from the Nabi, from our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And therefore, yung mga kamag-anak doon, may mga royal blood yun from our Prophet. And that being the case, tayo, bakit ito, kahit konti na lang, gives us a sort of pride. Dapat hindi mo kaya ng more ka. Dapat you should not quit dahil more ka at palagi kang na-marginalize. But take it as an inspiration for you to do better. When I was a student of UP Diliman Civil Engineering, hanggang ngayon, ako pa lang yung gumagraduate doon. Alam ko, hanggang ngayon wala pa rin gumagraduate doon na civil engineer sa UP Diliman. Kasi ang dami kinikick out, sobra. Yung mga valedictorian doon, international matulipin, kinikick out. But how did I survive? Because I had one thing in my mind. I said, I'm one Muslim from Sulu who went to UP Diliman, and doon sa 25,000, sa na kaming undergrad, I said, I have a mandate to really push this, whatever. Sabi ko, I'd rather go home in a coffin. Sinulatan ko yung professor ko nung babagsak na sana ako. Sabi ko, I'd rather go home in a coffin than deny myself, my family, and my people of my opportunity to contribute na nandito na ako. If you do that, if you put that in your mind, then you can tap a resource so strong and so deep that no matter how harsh, difficult the challenges you have, you can and will surpass it. But if you do not know your identity, you do not know your history, sabi mo, ay, sige, wala na, anyway, tambay lang naman ako sa SM. But know your history so that you will be more inspired to develop. Sino dito yung alit? Wala. But you know, when Hong Kong was not, parang pinagbawal mag-trade ko ng China. What happened, although I'm a British scholar as well, ginawa nila, pinadala nila ng drugs doon. Diba? Yung, dumami yung adik, nagsira yung gobyerno. Sa Bangsamoro, napakaraming adik din, yung mga kabataan natin. Yung mga doon sa sulok, kaya napakaraming kidnapping. May mga bata na adik din. Pero marami na naman kahit saan lugar. But kailangan pagtulungan din natin ito. Because it's also affecting our system. The Bangsamoro to become empowered to hold our future. So, ang responsibilidad niyo, huwag kayong maging adik. Okay, so tapos na tayo sa present. Let's now go to the future. Pwede, sir, kailangan ko na talaga ng pinto. Tumayo lang yung isa sa inyo tatlo. Okay. So, arm to Bangsamoro. I have already told you why there is a move from arm to Bangsamoro. Because of these aspects. Ibig sabihin, kahit kompleto yung gobyerno natin, mabigyan tayo ng daan, mabigyan tayo ng konting donation, infra here and there, if there is no concrete laws that will address our control of our resources. Alam niyo kasi yung taga-Liquation March dito, pakitas yung kamay. Mas mayaman pa kayo sa Arabo kung nakuha na yung Liquation March National Gas dyan. Pero ang problema, wala naman sa inyo yung titulo. Gusto niyo ba magkaroon ng titulo na yun? Kailangan natin i-continue yung advocacy. Hindi na sa advocacy sa gera. Kasi kung panahon na yun, kaya pa yung gera. Kaya pa sundalo. But now, the war field is not in the battlegrounds of Mamasapano or in Sulu, in Basilan. The war fields are in the court. Today, they will have a select healing for the passage of the BPL. Yes, maybe hindi perfect in BPL, but the principles that they are espousing has some points. Points about control of our resources, points about our ability to manage our resources for economic development. Kasi alam nyo, nung panahon na yun, nagtanim kami ng kasama sa Sulu, 10,000 hectares. Pero hindi rin nag-progress. Pinag-aralan ko bakit. And I realized, may tinatawag na dependency theory. Remember this. Could you say dependency theory? Yeah. Pwede pakitalapit ko na tao na sa kanan. Hoy, pare, gising ka muna. Dependency theory daw. Yeah. The dependency theory is very important because it states that communities that will only do raw materials, give raw materials, will forever remain poor. And communities that add value to their raw materials will progress. And if you look at our community, Basilan, Cebu, Tawi-Tawi, Lanao, Maguindanao, puros raw materials lang tayo. Yung seaweed natin, saan pinoprocess? Sa Cebu. 20 years ago, there was an initiative to have a seaweed factory in Tawi-Tawi. Doon nag-conference sa Zamboanga. Ang ginawa, yung mafia ng Cebu, pinuntahan doon, pinarayaran para hindi tuloy yung initiative. There are people, businesses, whose interest is against the development of the Bangsamoro. Because when you're no longer drug addicts, when you're no longer ignorant, and when you no longer are ignorant of your rights, then you will have your own seaweed factories, you will have your own industries, hindi na brown sa inyo, then pwede na kayo mag-compete. And therein lies the bigger challenge again, that you do not only need to throw the basketball to this stage, dapat mas magaling kayo mag 3 points, dapat magaling din kayo umiwas sa distraction at sa depensa. But you can do that. And mamaya I'll give you a case study of something like that. Andito na ako, at saka dito. Pero tapos na yung 45 minutes of time. Pwede ko pa bang bigyan ng konting time? Okay ba? Pag gusto nyo, ituloy ko muna ito, pwede ko malakap. Salamat talaga. Yung ayaw pwedeng pumalakpak. Thank you. Salamat. You know, tayo mga Moro, we are idealistic. We want to change the world. Tingin nyo, makakasabi ako kanina sa youngest din dito. Yung, wala kayo rin ako. Sino yung nangyayari bago managawa kanina? Alam nyo, mahirap ang posisyon ko. Kasi pag may trabaho ka, assistant secretary, palagi ang sabi nila, ay, napakabata mo naman. Noong nagmamanage ako ng 10 billion project doon sa Samar, ang daming consultants, 200 kilometers, ang palagi sa amin ng consultants, ay, ang bata mo naman, para lecturer kami pag pero hindi na po ako bata. Katulad ng marami sa inyo, baby face lang po. So, here, kung titingnan nyo yung learnings na na-learn ko, hindi ko na sasabihin yung edad ko. I learned a very important thing. Kaya isa lang yung picture na nakikita nyo rito. Kung uuwi kayo, ito rin pwede pakitandaan. Kasi after studying in UP, working in activism, studying in the UK, working in government, working in private, I realized, dito pa rin bumabagsak. Ang una niya, know what you love to do. Kung mag-engineer ka, do you love? Ask yourself, ano ba talaga yung gusto nyo gawin? And nasa part na tayo ng the role Because your role is greatly dependent on what kind of animal you are. Excuse my words. Because there are different types of animals. There are horses, there are monkeys, there are fishes, there are birds. By determining what you are, then you can focus and own that. Because you cannot force a horse, baka kabayo ka, tapos doon ka pala sa swimming, doon ka sa life saving sa dagat. O kaya unggoy na gustong lumipad. And that is why it is critical for you to learn your natural talents. As early as now, young brothers and sisters, know your talents. Pangalawa, magaling ka ba dyan? If it's a talent that you have, then ask yourself, are you good at it? Because if you love doing it and you're good at it, congratulations, you have two. Kung mesa yan, meron ka ng dalawa, pero hindi matatayo yan. Because a great challenge is you have to check, does the world need it? Kung magaling ka na, if you have a skill, na mahal mo, tapos napakagaling ka, yung pala hindi naman pala kailangan ng mundo, aba may problema ka, mamumuhay ka na mag-isa. But even more challenging and pragmatic, sino dito yung may asawa at anak na, pwede pakitaas yung kamay? Uy, marami rin. Sino yung single at naghahanap ng boyfriend or girlfriend? Yan. Okay. Sino yung nag-expect na makahanap ng boyfriend or girlfriend dito ngayon, dito sa kwarto ito? Yan. Ang dami. Ang suswerte nyo kasi kung makahanap kayo dito, puros mga leaders na yung mga mahanap nyo. So, palakpakan naman natin. Sana makasama yun sa 5 pangalan na matatandaan nyo. Inshallah! So, pangalan, address, cellphone, kompleto nyo na. Huwag pangalan lang. Ha? Kompleto. Tsaka Facebook. Alam nyo actually, kahit hindi nyo sabihin, sabi mo, pwedeng cellphone, kung ayaw bigay cellphone, pwedeng email na lang. I will email you. Pero actually, masisearch mo sa Facebook yung email niya. Kasi baka iba yung pangalan niya sa Facebook. Tapos nakalap mo na lang. But, the point I'm saying here is that pag wala ka pang asawa at anak, pwede ka pa dito. You love doing it. You are great at it. Wala ka pang pakialam. If the world needs it. Pero pag may anak ka na, asawa, kaya minsan yung mga tao na napakagaling na sa isang bagay, humihinto, nagiging clerk. Meron akong alam na architect. Gusto mag-apply lang na parang clerk na posisyon. Meron akong alam na mechanical engineer. Gusto niya maging clerk lang din dyan. Sabi ko, sayang. But, ngayon pa lang, tanongin nyo na, will the world pay for it? Because just like in the Bangsamoro communities, we can never progress if there is no economic development. Sa inyo din, if you don't take care of your ability to earn, your income earning ability, kung jobless ka, wala ka rin namang trabaho or wala kang skill sa negosyo, because the truth is, kung wala ka namang pera, your capital is in the mind. So therefore, hone it. And hone a skill that the people will pay or there is a demand. And there's a lot of demand even in the Bangsamoro. Because the truth is, kahit nakuha mo na yung cellphone, yung Facebook number ng na yan, na lalaki o babae na yan, kung malaman niya na parang ang gusto mo lang ay tumambay sa bahay, o kaya ang gusto mong gawin lang is tambay o kanta mag-isa or medyo sabi niya paano kung magiging tatay o nanay ng magulang. And it's a hard truth for young people to now, by 30, you should have developed your own specialization and line. Dapat may magaling ka na sa isang bagay na pinabayaan ka na. Kahit magsulat lang yan, kahit magsalita ang ganito. O kaya, kasi alam mo yung mga opisina, as assistant director, kasama ako dun sa mga screening committee, mga nag-apply. Sino ba yung Hindi yung I am, was there. You know, those are simple English things that paano ka gumawa ng communication? Pag marunong ka yan, ox na. Pag marunong magsalita, pwede ka na sa opisina, pwede ka na mag-organizer. O kaya may technical capacity ka, well and good. Because while we have a bigger objective sa Bangsamoro, the foundation of that is the individual capacity of that person to contribute something. If you, 10 kayo, halimbawa, ikaw nakatayo lang, wala kang ginagawa, then you are not adding value to the organization, then you are a liability. Look at Singapore, wala silang resources. Look at the UK, konti lang sila. But it is because they have a well-developed human capital that allows them to produce output. Actually, palapakan natin yung mga kapatid natin Maranao. Because kung titignan nyo yung mga statistics, this is a challenge for those. Doon sa UP, 80% Maranao. Doon sa mga nag-abroad scholarship, 80% Maranao. Pag pupunta ka sa Green Hills, 99% Maranao. Pag pupunta ka sa buong Pilipinas, hanggang Basilan, may nagpubenta pa rin Maranao. But, challenge yun sa iba. Kaya hindi tayo ba yung challenge yun sa inyo? To also continue to develop your capacities, your mind. Kasi kahit gaano ka gagaling magsalita, magsulat, kung wala ka namang eligibility, wala din hindi makapasok sa gobyerno. Kaya may masabi minsan, ay, hindi mo marunong magsalita yun, hindi mo marunong magsulat, itsikap na ganyan. Pero, ay, may bachelor naman siya, may master's, may PhD, tapos may civil service na, kasi na nakakapasok. So therefore, my point that I'd like to emphasize, while we will ask your role as Bangsamoro youth is having private victory of your own. Be sure that when you grow up and you have kids, you have a skill, a talent, a capacity to earn or add value to any product. You could do service, or you could make a product, or you could be part of a team. And that is my intro to talking about Gawad Kalinga. What is the connection between Gawad Kalinga and the capacity to earn? The point is, you volunteer. As early and as young as you are, sino nito yung mga below 20, pakitaas yung kamay? Then that is the right age to volunteer. Volunteer for a cause. Volunteer for Gawad Kalinga. Kahit walang sweldo, mag-volunteer kayo, tumulong kayo. Learn to organize. Learn to deal with other people. Learn to do strategic thinking. Learn to do fundraising. If you have a cause, sabi mo, ang problema kasi walang pera eh. May organisasyon kami walang pera. But if you develop your mind and your strategic thinking well enough, you could do alliance. Look at your strength. If you are like 20 people and wala kayong pera, ally with a private company, a government company, or any individual who have the same cause as you. For example, wala kang pera paggawa ng bahay. Isandaan kayo. But then, there are groups like Gawad Kalinga who are open there to partnering with you. Then you could use that. For example, may problema ka sa basura sa komunidad nyo. Then look at other private entities that can help in your cause. I was a judge for the outstanding farmer a few months ago. Napagod ako sa pag-judge ng pag-judge ng best farmer sa buong Pilipinas. Sabi ko, grabe, pagod naman ito. Pero after that, yung talent fee ko was $500. Pero wala pa naman kayo. And I asked myself, how can we do that? And I realized that when you meet, for example, there are corporations that would also like to help farmers, and you're a private entity or a volunteer group, then you can partner. So, one thing I'd like to emphasize, finally, is 2 case studies. One, the case study of yung mga leaders dito sa Army ngayon, yung mga young leaders. And pangalawang case study, na may nila is DPWHR. You know, nung kasing edad nyo, yung si Governor Mujib Hatama, at yung mga iba pang mga executives ng army. Ganyan din yung ginagawa niya. Nagpo-volunteer for a cause. And when you volunteer, may issue dun sa area nyo, alamin, and you help. Because in doing that, you develop your skills in relating, organizing, in communicating, in problem solving, in strategic thinking, skills that are most vital in your career life. Alhamdulillah, kakapasa ko lang ng dalawang CESO processes. Mapag-isip ka! And you know, alam nyo yung minimeasure pala nila, yun, strategic thinking, ability to perform, measuring outputs, mentoring. These are skills that I learned, not in UP Civil Engineering. I learned it in my volunteer work in small organizations. And through time, you develop it. Usually sabi nga nila, ba't ka marunong magsalita? Engineer ka naman. Ang problema kasi, bakit engineer ako, may mga volunteer organizations akong sinasalihan. Kung wala akong pera, ganun din, trabaho ng salita, mag-courier, ganun. So talagang gagaling ka. Do not try to learn these skills when you're already in the workforce or when you're already adults because that is too late. Sa case namin, Governor Mujimataman, it's interesting. And it will inspire you. In 1993, that's 22 years ago, magkasama na kami yan. Yung mga Muslim doon sa Metro Manila na nag-aaral sa UP, sa UBEL, sa Ateneo, sa Lasal, nagkaisa and we formed the Muslim Youth and Student Alliance. Just like you, we hope that you form that alliance of people with the same feathers, flocking together and developing each other. Because sabi nga sa surah Al-Asad, ilal insana lafikus, ilal ladina amanu wa amilus salihat, wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Verily in time many is lost except those who join together in mutual teaching of truth, patience and constancy. It is only when you join with people of the same feathers like you, moral leaders, that you can hold that. Kasi pare-pareho kayo mga idealistic young people. Pareho kayong speed, pareho kayong abilidad, pareho kayong intention to do something bigger than what you are doing now. So, imagine mo, your age, kami doon sa Metro Manila, we were advocating already for the issues of Mindanao. Si Sara Malabagan pa that time. Although may klase kami, minsan nagpo-volunteer. And then, imagine that, after 7 years, graduate na kami, syempre hindi na student. We formed the Young Moral Professionals. And during the founding convention, we had a strong debate. Nag-away-away. Alam niyo yung pinag-awayan? Simple lang. Ano gagamitin natin? Young Muslim Professionals or Young Moral Professionals? Sino yung favor na Young Muslim Professional? Pwede pakita siya kamay. Sino yung favor na Young Moral Professionals? Pwede pakita siya kamay. Yung may gusto ng Young Muslim Professional, bakit mas gusto mo yan, sir? Because identity Muslim. Pero yung napagdibadihan doon, alam nyo, talagang nagkagalingan. Sabi niya, because we're young Muslim professionals. But you go all over the world, there are 1.5 to 2 billion Muslims in the world, and they would all be called young Muslim professionals. Correct? But when you talk of young moral professionals, then you have an identity. That you are not only a Muslim in Africa, Muslim in the Middle East, or somewhere in Asia or India or China, but you are a Muslim in the Philippines. You're a moral, you're a Muslim in the Philippines. And not only that, you inherit 600 years of history, of grandeur, of pride. Halaman niyo naman yung sarili. Boss, pakitayo lang talaga asan si Tom. Pakitayo lang talaga kung hindi na talaga kaya. Pero palapit dito. Alam nyo, Dean Bahul, one of the greatest historians of Muslim in Asian studies in UP, was there, and President Marcos said, You know, we must do this so that the Philippines will become great again. Tumayo si Dean Mahon, sabi niya, Mr. President Marcos, can you answer this question? When was the Philippines great? And the brilliant President Marcos was not able to respond. Because Dean Mahon was quite well aware of history. He was a great historian. Did the greatness of the Philippines start during the Aquino administration? Arroyo administration? Balik tayo. Marcos? No? Early magsaysay? Were the Philippines great? Or was it during the American period that the Philippines was great? Or was it during the Spanish time that the Philippines was great? In fact, when you ask when was the word Filipino coined, was it during the time when there was conflict between Magellan and Lapu-Lapu? Or was it during the 1898 Spanish-American War that the Spaniards needed the Filipinos to ally with them to go against the Americans? Our history is not complete until the Philippines includes the Bangsamoro history, and so that the Philippines can be considered really great if they integrate the Bangsamoro history. Because if we look at again, as I said, in Luneta, who stands taller than Jose Rizal? It is Lapu-Lapu. Balapkan nyo naman si Lapu-Lapu. Alam mo ba si Lapu-Lapu sa PNP seal? Sa PNP seal, si Lapu-Lapu yun. So lahat ng PNP na 200,000, they admire Lapu-Lapu, who is a Muslim. Balapkan natin kayo. Pwede ko naman yun. That is why we fought for the identity of Moro. So that was year 2000. And the foundation of that, kaya naman magkape-kape yung mga young Moro professionals. Alam mo sa Starbucks kami nagkakapihan, parang social. Starbucks, sa coffee bean. But then, we were not just talking about things that we would enjoy kung sino nanalo sa Manny Pacquiao. But we were talking about our home. We were talking about history and where we were going. Do not, o pumunta kayong SM, Lana, o Starbucks. Aside from talking about kung sino na yung, kung si anak ni Sharon Cuneta ay nag-bold post na, you talk about your history. Talk about the issues affecting us. Because the fact that you are in Starbucks means that you are more privileged than most of your fellow Bangsamoro. And Alhamdulillah, 1993 to 2000, for we established the Young Moro Professionals in 7 years. Many of the Muslim organizations died. Marami kasi sa atin, mag-organize tayo na ganito. Muslim Professionals Association, Muslim ganito. There was a state difference that we did here. And this is part of your role as the Bangsamoro youth, to be not dictatorial. We changed the system from the rigid presidential system to a more flexible, round-table leadership with conveners. So we had conveners. Kasi ang problema pag presidential minsan, pag presidente na siya ng Muslim Professionals of the Philippines, gusto niya 20 years. Pag chairman niya siya ng ganitong front, gusto niya lifetime. Yun ang problema ng Moro. And that kills the organization. The Young Moro Professionals, a case study, and it has been acknowledged by Asia Foundation and so many others, is that they have a more democratic and empowering organization of Young Moro Professionals. But the foundation is you are like-minded, you have the same feathers, and you enjoy the company of each other. Kasi nung panahon na yun, pag Muslim professionals, Moro professional ka, kanya-kanya, gusto mo dun sa Christian na kabarkada mo. But then, if you can spend so many time with your Christian friends, why not with your fellow Moro friends also? And talk about home. And alhamdulillah, year 2000, today is 2015, we surpassed the 10 years natural death of organizations. And after 10 years, sana ba yun? After 20 years ng Muslim Youth and Student Association, 15 years ng Young Moro Professionals. Yan na. Alhamdulillah, 5 years ago, you could not topple the system of governance sa atin. Traditional, mahirap mag-reform, mahirap pakinggan yung kabataan. But recently, with Governor Muchi Fatama, nakasama namin from 1993 to that 2000 movement. We have developed, inculcated, pushed for this reform. Si Governor Muchi Fatama na yung governor. And he continues that passionate call. Kaya iba yung leadership ni Governor Muchi Fatama. Hindi yung parang traditional na politician. If he's out of the box, he's passionate, he's strong-willed, he can dare be uncomfortable for his people. Because for the past 20 years, he has been doing that. Hindi yan ay, para maging politika ko, I'll do this. No. It had been an advocacy for so long. And at the same time, alhamdulillah, yung mga executive secretary niya, ganoon din, human rights worker. Yung chief of staff niya, ganoon din, kasama-sama rin namin sa advocacy. Yung cabinet secretary, yung secretary ng DAR, including sa national, sa NCMF, yung commissioners, recently. So, because, you know, iba kasi, halimbawa, kayo, tingnan nyo na yung mga kasama nyo ngayon. You will be the future leaders. And it is important na magkakilala kayo. You have working relationship. Kasi pag maging leader, ang hahanapin mo rin, yung may ka-working relationship ka na. Yung na-test mo na, that is not just there for the money, but it is there because he passionately wants change. So, inshallah, 5, 10, 15 years from now, you guys will be the leaders. But you must start now. Kaibigan ninyo na. Actually, parang sa inyo, ito pinagmamayabang ko. Kasi yung mga tausong na babae during that time, mahirap hanapin, wala pang cellphone, wala pang internet. Sabi ko, kung magpapakasal ako, may magaganda doon sa Luzon, madadala ako doon, sabi ko, alam, ito sikreto lang natin ha. Sabi ko, dapat ma-organize yung mga lahat ng mga taga-sulong sa Metro Manila. Tausong na babae. Kasi ang problema, walang Facebook that time. And then from there, may nakita akong maganda, magaling, at kapareho ng mindset. And kung kinausap ko, pareho ng iba, nagka-develop magaling, tapos nga, so pagpareho ko inyong makakasama are those who share the same vision. And together we are, and marami rin sa young professionals, yung chief of staff, yung taga-human rights, because you share the same advocacy, mas madali. Because you have the same frequency. And finally, as Assistant Secretary of DPWH, I will just share something about system. Now, it doesn't matter how hard you work, it doesn't matter how good your intentions are. If the systems you are working in is wrong, you will become wrong. In the case of DPWH ARMM, for 20 years kasi, may problema. Kasi during that time, there's a Public Works Act law that states yung mga project natin, identify kahit anong project yan, tapos identify rin kung sino yung mag-implement. E pag ganun kasi, we go to the least resistance. Yung tapo-tapunan mo lang ng mga bato. Sino rito yung nakakita ng daan na tinatapunan ng mga bato tapos pag-umulan na wala na, pakita siya kamay. Yun yung problema dati. And during the time of Governor Hatama and Secretary Emil Sadain of Bosco, he had political will to see that there is a problem here. But of course, there was a huge resistance. Akalain mo sabihan mo yung mga mababatas natin sa ARN, uy, pwede ba palitan natin yung batas? Ilagay na lang natin sa batas na dapat may competitive bidding at bawal na yung mga traveling na yan. Kaya dapat konkreto na natin para pag ginawa mo, isang beses na, mapapay na natin lahat. It took a lot of political will. But if you're passionate, kaya nga sinasabi ko, for 20 years you've been advocating for change, then that can be done. And alhamdulillah, 2 years ago, we were able to change the Public Works Act. But for 20 years, we had 1 billion na budget. Siyempre, grabe yan, tinatapon-tapon lang. Hindi wala ka makita konkreto. Kung may konkreto lang maliit. Tingko 1 billion. But when we came in, from 1 billion, naging 1.5 billion siya. Kasi nakita nila yung reform. And nung inamin na natin yung Public Works Act, naging 5 billion yung budget for our roads. Dati, pag magawa ka ng road dito hanggang doon, kung pwede na ma-picture, yun na yung konkreto. But now, from dito hanggang doon sa PNP, sa AFP Staff House, kaya na natin i-konkreto. Why? I'm sharing with you this because of one simple thing. That if you want something, you must prove that you have the political will to sacrifice for the truth and for what is right and for what is true. Ano ibig sabihin nun? 20 years, hindi po 1 billion lang yung pondo natin sa infra. Bakit? Kasi alam ng nasa sabi niya, kasi nahulog yung sa patong yan, sa kickback, hindi naman na-implement. Bakit yung panahon ni Governor Hataman at ni Secretary Emil Sadain, naging 1.5, naging 5 billion, naging 10 billion. And now we're requesting for 20 billion. Wala po kayo naman. Kaya para sa dano yun eh. Kasi sino ba yung taga-Matanong Barira dito? Budol. Sino? Diyan. Alam nyo, nakapunta ako doon sa Barira, Matanong area. Ang daming magaganda. Gusto nyo bang pumunta doon? Marunong ba kayo sumakay ng kabayo? Kasi doon nakita ko kailangan nakakabayo ka. Kasi pagkanya-ganyan yung daan. And it is painful. Nakita ko mga few weeks ago. And you understand that it's the main reason kung bakit mapaparebelde talaga yung mga tao natin. But now, going back to my point, if you can prove na sa sarili mo you can reform, your community can reform, then you can expect from the national government that they will also help. So alhamdulillah, we pray that as we are now reformed and doing good, we hope that the national government can understand that morals are not just violent, morals are not just fundamentalos, morals are not just corrupt, and we have proven that we can govern. We have proven that we can help develop our communities. Because our lives is a trust, is an amana. There's a saying that you do not inherit this earth. We're just holding it for the next generation. And therefore, kayo na mayayaman, na nakaten nito, do not just waste your lives like what I almost would have done. After studying well, I got a very high-paid job. Mas gusto ko na doon sa Mandaluyong kasi maraming SM, pwede ka manood ng IMAX, may Starbucks. Inofferan ako ni Governor Mujib Kataman na sumali sa akin, sabi ko ayoko. 5 times I was offered to join public work. Sabi ko, mas gusto ko sa Manila, walang carbang, walang adik, walang gera, walang sniper. But then, sa pagkain lang pala ng mga prawns at crabs at steak, tumaas yung BP ko, mild stroke ako, midnight, doon sa Samar, yung sa project ko na 200 kilometers. At I assure you, lahat tayo darating doon. At yung mga kaibigan natin, sasabihin na nila, inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. But during that time, 30 seconds to 1 minute, alam nyo, parang PowerPoint presentation. Parang itong sinasabi ko kasi it changed me. Yung PowerPoint presentation na yun, makikita nyo yung kaibigan nyo dito. Ang tinatanong niya, what have you done with your life? Kung may anak kayo, nasa mata niya, what can you be remembered for? Yung misis ko, naisip ko kagad, pag mamatay ako ngayon, magpapakasal pa siya. And natandaan ko si Governor Mujib at mga kasama ko sa farm. Then I realized na kung ang kinatatakutan natin ng kamatayan, darating din pala yan kahit nasa safe na lugar tayo sa Mandaluyong, sa Starbucks. Dahil sa pagkain na pwede tayong mamatay. So sabi ko, kahit may carbon sa pagkabako, at least when that time comes, I will be remembered for somebody who had tried his best after training his whole life para mag-boxingero na hindi ka naman nakasparing o para mag-carpentero na hindi ka naman nakagawa ng bagay. At least, when that PowerPoint time will come again, and that will come to you as well, you can smile, happy and contented because you have done your job. Magsusunod sa mga
or you find Visual Culture Complex for Cotabato City, Philippines. Signed, Luis Iquinena, Executive Director, Gawa Galinga. Isa Tom Del Monte, Executive Director, Coordinating Development Office of the Bangsamoro Youth, and Edgardo Ramirez, Policy President